Okay, good morning, everybody. We're here on YouTube we're here on Facebook, and we may end up on YouTube if everybody can make it work. That's still a process here. We don't have our techie. She's back in New Orleans. So the rest of us are patching it together. And apparently she never talked to the techie people here to find out what was needed. Yeah, another mess. Okay, I've done about as much as I can make happen on this, so we'll get started. Chuku kunduzongo gomboye, dorje sampa garab dorje dang, shere singde bardushin labde, de damabs on tata tusum chi. Zog chen jupe lama la solo deb ergim pema junela solo deb dorji chang chitilo narudang marpa mila gompo tatapa na pupadang palden drupa so kargil lama namla solo deb O chen lama namla solo deb Dru chen lama namla solo deb Kaginwari lama namla solo deb Shakil lama namla solo deb Nyandu dayundrun lama namla solo deb Palkandu jangdangi erme pa Gun garab dorje jindrak pa Jetidang nisume pai Palamanam chitente Chong Okay, Facebook is actually doing it. So Tawa, Long Chen Arabjam, infinite vast expanse, is the key to all of this. It's the key to Dzogchen. If you cannot shift your attention from the minutiae of the world to the infinite openness of awareness when it is not point focused on the minutiae, then there is no way to meditate in this form of meditation. You can do tantric visualizations and things, but you can't do Dzogchen meditation. So the very key to the whole thing is to develop your view, Tawa. In all of the three phrases, I'm going to translate as phrase instead of word, that strike to the essence. The first point is the introduction to the view, to Tawa, again and again, because that's going to be the key to the entire rest of it. And the key to that is to simply relax your mind. You're not used to that. You're used to holding a certain amount of tension in your brain, your mind, your heart, your shoulders, your jaw. So, again, tricks to relax. Tighten every muscle in your body and focus really intensely on something in front of you. Relax. Relax the muscles that control the lens of your eyeballs. Relax the orifice of your attention so that it falls open naturally without being forced. Whether thoughts occur or do not occur, whether there are physical sensations or emotions, is irrelevant. Do not poke at those. Do not entertain them. Make them a cup of tea and talk about them to yourself. Relax your speech. Like a cat which is ignored, it will wander off your thoughts. If you notice that somewhere in your body is holding attention, relax it. If you notice you are stressed about something, or annoyed about something, or happy about something, leave that be. Don't poke at it. It is said that Dzogchen is like anal sex. If you don't relax, it won't go in. Relax. Humor is your best lube. Don't try to create a meditation here. Your own innate katak, primordially pure wisdom, has always been present from the very beginning. So the key here is to rest in a state that is neither scattered nor concentrated, without following thoughts, feelings, or sensations of the 6 sense organs. And they will happen. You're sitting on a chair, you can feel your ass. Don't pay it no never mind. Feelings, emotions arise and vanish. Okay, they can do that. So do thoughts. Don't try to step on them or swap them or make them go away. at first when trying to meditate in Shine, which is a pointed focus actually, on a pebble or on an object. People shove away the thoughts. I never found that worked very well. Much easier to just ignore them. Now, when you start doing this, things start to happen. You get nyams. Nyam is just a word for any meditative experience. They come and they go. At times they last for months. At times they last barely an instant. You will like some of them and be bothered by others. Some of them are more like physical sensations. You see lights with your eyes, or you feel twitches in your body, or a sense of heat going somewhere or other. Sometimes there are repeating, what are those thoughts that come when you don't like them? Yes, a repeating intrusive thought that just sort of keeps going. It's like a brain worm. It might be something from a commercial or a jingle. So all sorts of these things happen. What my teacher used to say was that, you know, in the summer when the rains come and all that weird green stuff grows up in the jungle? Well, it's just like that. When you begin to practice, all sorts of weird stuff goes on in your mind. There's different ways of dealing with that. One way is to just, next. What is important is that you do not attach to a nyam, thinking it's a realization. How do you know it's a nyam? It has a beginning point in time. There's no such thing as a realization in Dzogchen. Only nyams. That's the "are we there yet" question. Second most common question I get asked. Are we there yet, Mom? Did I get it? Yes, the whole universe is loving and expansive, and it's been like that for a week. Which day did it start? What time of day? Guess what? This is from the Four Turning Minds in the very beginning. Anything that has a beginning will have an end. Anything that's stuck together, an aggregate, will come apart. Anything which is acquired will be lost. This is impermanence. Anything shoved away is probably going to chase you. That's karma. So with all of this, the key with nyams is to not try to keep them. Don't grab them, but don't fight them either. You don't want to shove them away, try to get rid of them as oh no, it's a nyam, oh rats, nyams are bad. You don't want to lay either a good or a bad trip on your nyams. They just happen, and they will happen. It's like a signpost. You know, you might see a sign that says, Mexico, 500 meters. You're on your way to Mexico. This tells you you're on the right road. But you don't stop at the signpost that says Mexico because it says Mexico and you're going to Mexico. Nyams are signposts. They are a sign that you're really practicing. So in a way, I guess they're good. But if you try to attach to them or keep them in any way, they're a problem. because then you get stuck in a nyam, and then when it wears off, you try to get it back. This is the goes in and out of retreat problem. You go in retreat, you get super high, you come out splut, and then you go back in retreat and you get really high and loving and oh, whoa, woo woo universe, and then you come out again, and after a couple of days, splut. Yeah. So there's no there for the are we there yet question. There's nowhere you're going to, and there's no one who's going there. As long as that is not utterly obvious in every moment, we're not there yet. And if it becomes, keyword, becomes utterly obvious in every moment, that's a nyam. You can't win. Give up. Relax. Your own innate nature is Buddhahood. It's always been there. You can't lose it. You can't mess it up. You can't be bad enough to destroy it. Nor can you be good enough to actualize it. It's there. It always has been. Except for some unclear sentient being reason, you don't want to look there. So you get all busy obsessing with everything that's not that, which keeps you busy enough never to notice it. This is why it is recommended that you simplify your life. Even if you're in a family, you have kids, you have responsibilities, the less stuff you have, the less housework you have. The less toys you buy, the less expenses you have maintaining your toys. I recommend people only have one toy. If you get tired of that toy, get a different toy and get rid of that one. Don't stick it in the garage. You can simplify your life. You'd be amazed how much simpler it gets when you just get rid of half your stuff. And then don't bother with the people that don't like you, where it's not mutual like. And then don't do everything everybody asks you to do. Simplify. Even within the structure of being an adult in the prime of your life and having a career, a house, a mortgage, a lover, a kid, all the things one accumulates. That doesn't mean the kid only gets one toy, or your lover only gets one toy. It's you, the practitioner, that needs to cut down in your entertainments. And then, with all the extra time you find in your life, you ever finish your to-do list? I have. And I sort of jittered for 10, 15 minutes, and then I wrote another one. The resistance that we do to enlightenment is what keeps us from recognizing our own innate Buddha nature. So, as a practitioner who wishes to actualize that for the sake of all other beings, since if there is no such thing as an actual entity individual, how could there be such a thing as individual enlightenment? We're all in this together. So for the sake of all beings, together with all beings, as all beings, at some point in time, the resistance wears off. Relax. Laugh. Straighten up your damn spine. You're gonna hurt yourself like that. No, put your back to the wall and turn sideways. Come on. You're gonna hurt your back without a backrest. And I'm gonna yell at you, and then I'm gonna laugh at you. Seriously, even if you need to, you can move over to these seats. And those seats are terrible for backs, but
It's okay for a few hours.
highly recommend whoever's in charge of the center slowly wean out those chairs for something with just a straight back that supports the lumbar. Body position matters. Body position is irrelevant. It matters for the first 20 years, where you want to make it easier. Try this, relax. Breathing shorter in-breath than the out-breath. Slight rest or pause at the end of the out-breath. Eyeballs relaxed. Tension relaxed. Mind looking. Allow the attention, the orifice of the attention to open wide. So instead of point focusing on what you are thinking or what I am saying, it is simply open, naked awareness. Seeing itself without point focus. Be looking there when your creativity is broken. Whatever you imagine is there. In striking with pet, the imagination breaks. And a naked, open awareness for a moment is noticeable. And then quickly, by habit, you cover it over with what you think it should be. Fear it might be. Have been told it will be. So what you do is you rest in this even state of open awareness, using whatever method to enter it works for you. You relax. You open your awareness to be simply aware of itself rather than its creations. But you will, due to force of habit, subtly cover that naked awareness with a veil of what you think it ought to be, might be, will be, should be. That veil, when pierced away, leaves clearly not what you thought it was, hoped it would be, feared it might be. But only for a moment, and then you throw a veil over it again, of subtle thoughts which aren't in words. This seed syllable is made of two letters, pa and tra. Pa in Tibetan is method, doing. The ER suffix in some grammatical places. Rigpa, which translates as awareness, is literally pa, active method. Rig is the verb to see. Nga around rig song, rigging, rigindu, it conjugates. Rig is the root. So pa symbolizes all the methods, the doer, the doing, the dude. And cha, chashi, cha, is the seed of wisdom brought together. It spells pet, or it's written phat, P-H-A-T. But usually it's more of a pet. So the last T is kind of swallowed. It has to be fierce enough, sudden enough, sharp enough to shatter your mind-made idea of Tawa, which is a little veil that you always are going to cover Tawa with. Because somewhere either you've read in a book or your teacher said to you, Longchen Rapjam, infinite vast expanse. So you cover Tawa itself with the concept of infinite vast expanse and a sort of a reflection of outer space. You visualize it rather than relax into it. And we all do that in the beginning, which is why you strip it with the seed syllable pet. Now, you have to be looking right at that subtle conceptualized Tawa. You have to be doing your best of mind, looking at mind, right in the moment when you hit it with pet. As my teacher always said, otherwise you'll just startle your fleas if you're not looking there right then. So this pet, it needs to have the three characteristics. Sudden, you almost sneak up on yourself. You don't be sitting there, I'm going to do a pet now. Bay. It has to be short. You use the same seed syllable in Poa, but you sing it. Bay. You use it in Chud, but it's long. Bay. This one's pronounced differently to a different purpose, used differently. So sudden, short, and fierce. Fierce doesn't mean loud. And no, you can't do it without making any noise. the softest I can do it and have it work, because you have to have that sudden explosive thing through your speech chakra, which is the chakra that controls intent and doing, the chakra of the paw. You can do it that softly as long as it's fierce and explosive. And you gotta be looking while you do it. These are the keys to using this special method, which is only in Dzogchen, and which was originated with Garab Dorje. And it's a really cool method. Now, it's not something you do out in public, okay? I guess if you were really badly stuck in the nyam, you could take your hanky and go, but it's considered a secret practice. It's also not a group practice. In a group, it just sounds like microwave popcorn, and that defeats it. However, I'd like you all to all try a pet now. See if you can make the sound. So, you know, be looking at it, because that's part of this. You do one when you're ready. Good ones. You got it. This is something you do alone rather than in group practice. Because the moment that you've got your focus right on that veil that you put there with your assumptions, that isn't even in words, but it's subtle. I mean, you all know enough to know what Taoist is supposed to look like. Read a book, seen a teaching. You're going to impose that subtly on the openness. And that is your tool to strip it again and again. You also can use it when you get those nyams. One thing that happens when you sit in this, in anything, not just Trekcha, but even in Shine for a while with your eyes open, is your eyes will dilate. So light is going to get really bright. It's like a whiteout. This is just what your eyeballs are doing, but people think that that is the clear light. It's not. It's just your pupils are dilating because they're relaxed too. And so more light's getting in, so it looks like a lot of light. Clear light is this. Clear means transparent. Between my hands, that's clear light. It's nothing special. It's simply the light by which the seer sees. The symbol of awareness by which Rigpa is aware and awake. So whatever experience of Dzogchen you are having, it's a subtle veil across the reality. And that is what you pop with PET. You pop it in order to reveal the naked and transparent clear awareness, which is always present. You don't make it be there. You simply strip it naked of what it was covering. Look, you've got tits. I can't see them, but you've all got tits. But if you took your shirt off, then I could see them. So in the same way, if you take the veil off, you can see it as it is. Fierce, sudden, and abrupt. Emaho. Emaho is Tibetan for oh wow. For a moment after you pop your veil that you put there, Not intentionally, but we all do that. Subtle assumptions. For a moment there, right in that moment, you will experience awareness without reference points. All the reference points of is's and isn't get popped, and it's just there naked. Naked, clear Dharmakaya. Wisdom that is beyond the ordinary mind's insistence on concepts. There's nothing there. No thing. And for a moment, you can be transfixed in wonder, struck by the wonder of no thing being there, and yet utterly transparent and clear. Now, all these words I'm saying about it, you're going to make those and use those as part of your illusion. That's why PET is so important. You got to break through that. The real naked awareness of mind itself, Semyi, real mind, big mind, is beyond any extreme of coming and going, unborn, undying. You don't put it there. You don't make it up, and it does not depend on you to be there. It is there whether you notice it or not. Bugs don't notice it, and yet it is there in all the bugs. The gangbangers out on the streets, they don't notice it, and yet it is there in them. The busier the person, the less likely to notice it. So your politicians are inevitably extremely busy maintaining power. So they're not going to notice their own nature. They're much too busy. And people caught in poverty, having trouble feeding themselves, they're not going to notice. They're too busy. A young mother with 3 kids on her own, when has she got time to sit and meditate? She's working 2 jobs just to feed them. So it's the middle, folks. Dharma didn't arise until a middle class arose. When there were only peasants and aristocrats are too busy fighting. They're like politicians, the powerful ones, and peasants are too busy looking for food. When there's a middle class, if you read all about the Mahasiddhas in India, the 84 Mahasiddhas, they're all an arrow maker, an oil refiner, a potter. They're professionals of that culture, which means they have some leisure. Shopkeepers, yeah, your shop closes. You choose when to close it. You've got it open during the day, but you're going to close it in the evening. You've got a little leisure before you have to sleep. Question?
What about all sentient beings if it's just the
The middle is the ones that have the opportunity to notice it. That's precious human rebirth. Not all Homo sapiens have precious human rebirth. If you're interested in hearing more about this, we have an ongoing discussion group of the 4 turning minds online. You are all welcome to join. You go to my website, you find Lilith, and you send her an email. Her email's on the website under the different groups. And then you get an invitation to the group. This is done just to keep the robots out. I mean, it's okay if an ET wants to join, but they have to be really interested in joining. No, we're not just for Homo sapiens. But if they're, I don't know, what are they called? Trolls? Yeah, we don't really want to bother with them. They're a distraction to themselves, you see. Being a troll is one place to hide from your enlightened nature. That tawa that is left when you've stripped it for a moment, beyond all the extremes of coming and going, birth and death, inconceivable and inexpressible. No, you can't come and tell me about what you saw. If you can, that wasn't it. It was a nyam. If you can put it in words, it isn't. And the more you try to put it in words and describe it, the more you're going to create a veil. So I strongly recommend, do not try to talk about tawa with your friends. Do not try to talk about tawa with yourself. This pure awareness is Dharmakaya. It is katak, primordially pure, innate unfuckupableness. It is beyond elaboration. Just as no matter how well you try to decorate the sky, nothing sticks. No matter how well you try to decorate tawa, it won't stick. This natural awareness wisdom is your birthright as a sentient being. It is sometimes referred to as the totality of yourself, which is not an individual entity. No, it doesn't make you one with everything. That's a concept, an exaggeration. But even you, the personality, when you look at how it's formed by interactions with other living beings, with actors and movie producers, with writers and books, with friends and conversation. All of that input goes into who you think you are. You're not an entity, you're a clump, an aggregate, a pile, a heap of factors. So the first point, the most vital point, the basic point is to recognize the face of Rigpa in itself. There is a decision to be made here. Whether you will go for this and this alone. To decide on one thing is the first vital point. To decide on tawa and strip it naked again and again, to decide to practice Dzogchen or to decide not to practice Dzogchen. This is a decision you get to make. Some people don't like Dzogchen. Scary. They don't want to stop thinking. They think you might have to stop thinking for Dzogchen. You don't. You just have to stop paying your thoughts all your full 100% of attention. But that decision decision of focus, non-focus of attention. Because if you do go for Dzogchen, you really do have to go for it with Gonzo. Hunter S. Thompson type Gonzo. That in English I think is a joyful, almost crazy enthusiasm. If you don't love it, you won't do it. You don't have to do it. The Buddha gave 84,000 teachings. They all point here, but many of them go through all sorts of rainbows, which you are most welcome to enjoy instead of this. Questions at this point? Yes.
Regarding pit, and please tell me if this is correct or not. It seems to work for me, but I'm pretty good at worrying and rumination. And when I can't seem to center my mind using my breath, I use pit very forcefully and with fierce.
And it breaks the chain.
Yes, I get this sense of relaxation where my mind gets back into sync, and I could be dropping it. I feel it in my body, tension, and I can't seem to control it with the breath, relaxing with the breath, and that pit, and it's very forceful.
What are you calling relaxing with the breath?
Sensing where my tension is, usually in my shoulders, and so I do my deep breathing, but sometimes my mind is just ruminating and worrying about something, but pit seems to get it in sync.
Yes, it will work for that too. I used to get this weird nyam that I called a grouchy nyam. And there was an English woman I used to grouch at a lot. Another student of my teacher's and a friend. And so he used to call it by her name was Sonam. So he'd call it a sonyam. I think that was a pun. I don't think that's what it was actually called in Tibetan, but they taught me weird words for stuff. These are the guys that taught me my door key was called a penis in Tibetan. Because I was always losing the keys to my cave. And then I'd be going back saying, have you seen my penis? Did I leave it here? Which all the yogis thought was hysterical, and they kept it up for almost a year. But I used to get this grouchy nyam, which was ruminating on everything wrong. And yes, pet will break that too. Rumination will generally increase when you begin Dzogchen. It's a defense. Look, you will use every bit of yourself to resist Dzogchen. Even if you love it, you'll still find ways to avoid it. And so rumination is one of them, and yeah, you are popping a rumination nyam. Yours go to worry, mine goes to grouch. Different personalities. When you work with emotions, this is all Eastern direction of Vajrasattva, mirror-like wisdom. Fear, so worry is an aspect of fear, grouch is an aspect of anger, but they're the same thing. They flip back and forth. Most of us got trained to emphasize one or the other. Either you're not allowed to show fear, or you're not allowed to show anger. So you've learned to flip them all into the opposite.
Would those be the near and far enemies?
Near and far enemies as in tantric sadhanas? Yes. Now those would be the 5 poisons. There's an outer, inner, and secret tantric meaning of near and far enemies. So on the outer, it's nearby people you're pissed at and far away people you're pissed at. So like the government is a far enemy and your lover is a near enemy on certain days, or your ex. On an inner level, they are your hang-ups. Your nearby hang-ups, the ones that are active these days, and the ones that only come out in certain circumstances are further away. And secret, it has to do with Salung, and your near enemies are in your channels, and your far enemies are in all the extended channels interconnected. So it's not quite the same. Tantra is a wonderful subject. Tantra is so much fun. If you don't take to Dzogchen, you might take to Tantra. It's an excellent set of practices. It does the same thing as Dzogchen, but it does it by symbolism, so it will completely sneak past all your conscious resistance. Other questions?
Is it an excuse to try to mingle social practice with the sadhana or your accumulation practice? Is that an excuse that I am not seeing could be a paraphernalia and trying to resist to get into something?
Well, you don't. Where you merge Dzogchen with a tantric sadhana is at the end in the dissolution, not before then. Because what you really want to do is do the point focus. The sadhana is point focus. And you don't want to interfere with that. You want to really tightly point focus on all the steps: visualization, initiation, deities, self-initiation, the bumpa, the feathers on the bumpa. It's a very detailed point focus. Until it gets to the end, at which point your orifice of focus should be pretty exhausted from holding point so long. So when you get to the dissolution and you let go, it springs open. And that's where Dzogchen comes in. Eventually, you should be spending an equal amount of time in that dissolution part as you spent in the build-up to it, where the lights go in, the lights come out, and then all the things happen. So put more emphasis on the dissolution if you're a Dzogchen practitioner with your Tantra. Not the actual how it vanishes, but after it vanishes. Other questions? Back there?
The theta light, which you described, is that present when you sleep and when you are dead?
Yes. It's, first of all, we have to talk in symbols because we can't describe the real thing. So because the word for awareness is seer, you want to feel your awareness, it's what's looking out from behind your own eyes. That's your rigpa, your awareness. So when there is no light, the seer cannot see. When there is no life force, vitality, the awareness cannot be aware. So light is the symbol of life force vitality, which is also called Sambhogakaya. Tawa is considered equivalent to Dharmakaya nature of mind, Great Mother Ocean Dharmakaya. Gom, which is going to be going into this afternoon, is more equivalent to Sambhogakaya, which is that life force essence that pervades the universe, that is the lucidity, but not what it does with it. It's the potential of aliveness to feel, think, experience. That vitality, and it doesn't die with death. It encapsulates briefly, which is where one sits Tudong. The chi draws in from all the channels, and the red and the white come down and the red comes up, and it joins at the heart chakra, and it makes a little walnut thingy. And the awareness is not aware of anything because there is no channels in chi in this moment, and that's where you sit Tudong, if your family is okay with that and is willing to put up with it. A lot of families won't put up with somebody sitting Tudong. When Tudong is complete, and that's the first bardo, that little red and white walnut thing breaks open and consciousness departs the body. And then you fall over. Blood comes from the nose. Morbid lividity can occur. Rigor mortis begins. So that first bardo where you're encapsulated, all you perceive is pure clear light. It's the essence of Dzogchen. But if you get bored with it, or don't recognize it, or get antsy for the next thing to happen, then your Tudong finishes. My teacher sat about 10 days. Right now, Lama Uli from Denmark is in Tudong. Westerners have been known to sit Tudong. Rinpoche had a student who sat Tudong for at least 3 or 4 days. So it's not that hard. You just have to be a really strong Zog. And she was this little hippie chick from Marin. Annapurna was her name. No, it looks like it's going.
Yeah, I think your phone maybe just fell asleep.
Okay. So this is why, in order to practice Dzogchen, you have to have good, strong Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva is that life force energy, nature of Sambhogakaya. It is the vitality that runs the universe. It's not like just kindness, loving kindness. That's a really child view. Go be nice to people. It's a lot deeper and a lot more profound than that. It is the clear light nature of the Dharmakaya. Without Bodhisattva, the Dharmakaya seems cold, empty in a scary negative way. So you who are asking that, I strongly recommend you begin practicing Chenrezig from my website. That will allow you to feel the real Bodhisattva, even if you don't understand it. You need that feeling of great-hearted open-heartedness, that warmth, to combine with the emptiness of sunyata in order to hit the middle way, which is the innate enlightened nature of all life. You feel futile because you think you're all by yourself, and there would be no point in living if that were true. but it's not. So go fix that. Work on Bodhisattva. I recommend Chenrezig practice as passed down to me from Lama Thupten Yeshe as one of the fastest ways to get that going. And you can find the YouTube up on my website and elsewhere. But you really ought to fix that. You've fallen into nihilism. And that's a trap with Dzogchen that some people have happen if they didn't start out with enough bodhisattva and enough love in their life. You had a question.
Yeah. So I'm not going to try to describe it because words are not going to get there. But going into the meditation, you reach such point as you talked about, and it's almost like a void, but it feels very different. It feels inviting, feels warm. But then all of a sudden comes up a very weird feeling of something familiar going on in a complete unfamiliar setting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a nyam.
Yeah, okay.
You're having experiences in meditation.
Well, okay. Sometimes I'm able to not make a thought about it, just witness it. Just witness it. And then what follows is joy and a desire to come out of it and do stuff.
That's another nyam. Joy. Bliss. If it has a beginning and time and it started while you were practicing, it is a meditative experience. It's one of the veils that covers Tawa as it really is. Pop it.
How, if you're loving it so much?
Well,
It's hard to have the presence of mind to do it then. For me.
the trick is going to be that you just roll around in it as long as you have to. You know, slather it all over yourself, eat it, enjoy it as long as you have to. And when you're ready, pop it. You know, I can't tell people not to indulge. Hell, I indulge in shit. I like my wine.
I do too.
I like my food. So, oh, I see what happened.
It went on.
It blinked on and off on account of I ran out of data. Nayando just stuck more on.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So, pop it when you're ready. Enjoy it first, but eventually you're going to want to, I'll tell you, what's behind it is better than the nyam. But don't take my word for it. Look and see for yourself. It's not as cozy and reassuring as the accustomed nyam, because it doesn't have reference points. And being without reference points is a very new thing for you, even for a moment. This is why practice on the cushion. Short sessions are better than long sessions. What is short and what is long is different for each person. For somebody, a short session is 3 minutes. For somebody else, a short session is 15 minutes. Figure it out where you are and go from there. You kind of have to be self-honest to practice Dharma. You can't hide stuff from yourself.
Last comment about that. Well, one is there. is it a wrong assertion to, I don't want to say think or feel that Rigpa is on the other side? It's almost like there's this weird aspect about you wouldn't call you. Is that what Rigpa is?
Wait a minute, I am not following that.
Well, like I said, it feels strange, but it's happening in such a familiar space. Is there Rigpa on both sides, on what I'm feeling and what's on the other side of the knot?
Rigpa is who's feeling it.
I'm not too sure who's feeling that.
Yeah, Rigpa, you are Rigpa. You are the seer, you're who's seeing it, who's feeling it, the experiencer. What you want to do is experience yourself without an overlay of ignorance, of ma rigpa. Ma rigpa is not ignorance, it's smutch. It's smutch on your glasses. Ma rigpa is something that you remove, not something that you solve by adding knowledge. Ignorance is solved by adding more knowledge. Marigpa is solved by cleaning your glasses. So you, the seer, really don't see clearly because you haven't ever cleaned your glasses. What you're trying to see is yourself, the seer.
But there's no cleaning.
Hmm?
There's no cleaning, right?
Well, yes, there is. What do you think all the purifications are? All the doings. Those are cleaning your glasses. Nundro, cleaning your glasses. Now, if you can do Dzogchen, resting in Tawa, even if a rich man were to pave the entire earth with golden stupas, the amount of purification that he got for that much Dharma activity, which is a form of purification to build stupas and things. A yogi who sits for one instant in direct perception of Tawa, without a veil over it, purifies more. So this is really powerful if you can do it. But it's Rigpa seeing Rigpa. Mind looking. Mind is the experiencer of all the experiences. That which interprets the sensations of the six senses into a story about which emotions are felt. And so experiences are created out of the story you tell yourself about what happened. And let's say you were driving along the road and you almost hit a cat. You hit the brakes, but the cat ran back to the side. You had an experience. Let's say you were driving down the road and you didn't see the cat. It ran back to the side anyway. You didn't hit it, but you didn't even see it. These two experiences will have a very different effect on you. One, shot of adrenaline, stopping, oh my God, is the cat okay? And the other, You're always having experiences. You make them up. So once or twice a day, sit down and see if you can just experience naked experiencer. It's the mind that was different in those two stories. It was what you thought happened or adversely didn't think happened. your interpretation of sensations. So as you go about doing this, strip it as you can to see the seer for what it is. That innate and natural wide open awareness that is not colored or veiled by your interpretation of your experience or your previous experiences or your other smooch, such as hang-ups, belief systems, and all that crap, which is what you trip over every day. You're here because you've noticed you're nuts, right? I mean, everybody practices Dharma because at some point they noticed they were nutty enough to be doing themselves a mischief. Their life was not the way they wanted it because they sabotaged it somewhere. So they looked for ways. We all went looking for a user manual for our mind because we couldn't get it to work right. So that's what we're doing here. Here's your user manual. Here's how to strip off those conditioning things like you're not allowed to be angry or you're not allowed to be afraid. So that you can actually be the full human being that you are. Dzogchen doesn't get rid of your personality. That's not what non-entityness is. You ever see a Lama without a personality? Have you noticed that they mostly have very strong personalities? That's because it doesn't bother them anymore to have a personality. Most of you guys are bothered by your personality. That's why you're in here trying to find methods to fix it. I'm trying to tell you that it doesn't need fixing. But in order for you to realize that, to recognize that you don't need to be fixed, that there's really nothing wrong with you, you are innately unfuck-upable. Kadak, primordial purity. In order for you to experience this, we use method. And the method is sitting in tawa for a few sessions every day. They don't have to be long. If you can do 10 minutes in the morning, you're doing good. Grab 10 minutes in lunch hour too, and another 10 after work. Take the dog with you to the park. Sit on a bench. Let him have a long leash to sniff around and go ahead and sit there for your 10 minutes. But time on the cushion matters. Your mind stream, which is the you that you think you are, the more you break it through meditation and striking with pet, the clearer it gets. You look at a mountain stream that drops from rock to rock and how that actually purifies the water. So your stream of consciousness gets purified by this looking at tawa and then breaking the concept of someone looking at something using the tool of pet. Other questions?
How is so universal? How is that perceived by other spiritual traditions?
You would have to ask them. I believe that some spiritual traditions are not interested in that, except maybe among a few mystics, and are instead into worshiping a god and following its rules. I think that's easier to put somebody else in charge and then just follow a set of rules that you've been given. It means you don't have to think or meditate or really be responsible for anything. So I think some spiritual traditions have become that, whether or not that's what they started as. In my understanding, Jesus talked about Bodhisattva. However, many practitioners of Christianity these days do not appear to be familiar with that concept. I am less familiar with the Muslim religion. And the Jews found something in the desert, and I don't want to get into that. There are others, the Hindus, it's more a matter of the magic to improve one's own life for the common people. Doing the proper ceremonies, and it's to support the structures of society, which I believe also Taoism was much like that. So I don't know that other spiritual trends have any idea of Tawa. The Cherokee did, but they lost it. Because I've had a Cherokee teacher. I haven't found it in any of the other Native American things I've studied. And Druid lost it about 1,000 years ago. They may have had it. There were rumors. The Cherokee called it crow magic. I don't know what the what they called it among the Druids, but by 1,000 years ago, what was mostly left was working with patterns. So I'm not sure other spiritual traditions have it. I would think they might. In some, there's said to be a monastery in the mountains somewhere in Georgia, not our Georgia, Europe, Georgia, that still has a Christian Dzogchen lineage. I was over there, but I never found it. The Shivites among the Hindus are said to have something very close to Dzogchen. Krishnamurti, by his writings, seemed to get somewhat close, but didn't give method, only what is. That's the beauty of what Garab Dorje has offered, is it's got methods, which means it's not pure Dzogchen. It isn't till the end. Pure Dzogchen has no methods. This is Dzogchen light. How to get from, I'm an all fucked up sentient being and my life is shit, to, oh, cool. Of Dzogchen. So supposedly with the pointing out, and I saw it happen once, there's something called a Chikchawa. This is someone who, on hearing the pointing out, is immediately enlightened. Rinpoche and I thought that these didn't exist. It's like unicorns. A nice story. But no, never happens. And then one time in Marin, in a bookstore, he was giving a teaching and we got a Chikchawa. She came up and talked to him after, and it was obvious that she'd gone all the way. And she'd never practiced Dharma before or heard of Buddhism much. It was like, afterwards she's out and we're looking at each other going, that was a fucking Chikchawa, wasn't it? Cool. Never saw her again, no need. She came there, do you want that story? So, she'd been doing some kind of meditation all her life, basic mindful meditation like Shine, For many, many years. She was a middle-aged woman. I think Filipino descent. And, you know, job, everything. But she'd been doing this regularly for many years, and then one night she had a dream. And in the dream, this man came to her and gave her a teaching and sent light into her, and she understood everything. But when she woke up from the dream, she didn't, but she remembered the guy. She's like, I wonder who this was. Well, I'll keep an eye out. That was a very auspicious dream, very powerful. So some months later, she's wandering around and she looks in a bookstore window and she sees a picture of the guy. And remember that big book with all the Tonkas in it that was like as big as I am almost?
Yes.
So that was open to the Guru Rinpoche page. And she says, that's the guy in my dream. It's exactly what he looked like. So she goes into the bookstore and say, who is that? And they say, oh, that's Guru Rinpoche. So, oh, okay. So some months go by and she sees a notice at another bookstore saying Wangdo Rinpoche will be giving a discourse on such and such a night, translated to English. So she says, Rinpoche? Rinpoche? Gee, maybe they're related. Maybe Wangdo Rinpoche can tell me how to find his kin, you know, or brother or cousin, Guru Rinpoche. So she comes to the teaching. And that's how that happened. And Rinpoche was doing the pointing out. He was doing this whole text in one session, really fast. Just the root. So, yeah, it happens. But I've seen Rinpoche teach thousands of people. It happened once. It's not common. So don't worry about it if you didn't get it the first time. Figure you're better than me. Yes, in the back.
So when we started today in meditation, I heard three sounds. And then later, we started talking about what it was, and made the sound again. Thought, was that the sound? Three sounds that I heard before. Did you make that sound?
I did at one point in the teaching. And then I had y'all do it.
But before that,
No?
was there another
Maybe I just accidentally thought them too loudly. Sorry about that.
Okay, so I'm not crazy.
Of course you are. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. If you hadn't noticed you were crazy, you would not have come in here.
That is relevant. I'm not hearing things, I guess is what I should say. But I guess my thoughts and feelings towards those sounds were the first thing that came up was
Okay?
um,
One has thoughts and feelings about everything. What came up for you was your own patterns.
is it, I guess I'm wondering, is, I don't know,
one could feel anything whatsoever according to your patterns. So yes, you could be annoyed, you could be scared, you could be ecstatic. You will feel according to your patterns of feeling, how you feel about stuff. But yes, one might well have feelings there. Anything else in the peanut gallery?
Oh, yes, there's a question here. Are thoughts reference points? I once heard you say that there is never any thinking in Dharmakaya. Without thought, how could there be any reference point?
There's no reference points in Dharmakaya. Look, even when you're thinking, there's no thought. Are you having a thought? Would you please pass it to me? I want to see it. I don't believe you have a thought. You just think you have a thought. They're not real. You can't carry water in them. The first point, Chuku Rikpo Ngojong Shi, recognize the awareness of the Dharmakaya. This is the union of Sambhogakaya and Dharmakaya together. This is the clear light nature of the Dharmakaya, which is also called Sambhogakaya. This is the life force which is innately creative, but it is not its creations. Ngorang talk to Trepa Tining Dangpo. Oh. The first vital point is introducing the face of Rigpa in itself. This is Tawa. Do not make anything out of it. That's the hard part. You want to make it fancy. You want to make it scary. You want to make it desirable. You want to make it this. You want to make it that. That is the important point. This is looking at mind with mind. The seer sees itself. Rigpa aware of Rigpa. What does the mirror see? Now.
Itself.
Questions?
I'm trying to understand if there's no way to register that experience of Tawa, because if we register it with like a thought or a feeling, it's not going to be that. What is the way, like, how do people understand that they got it? Do you just keep on practicing and trust that it's there? And you just keep doing that?
Yep, that's exactly what you do. Keep on practicing. Know for certain that it is that there. That certainty is important. That's the one single point. But don't go all fretting on, am I doing it right? Second most common question. Or maybe no, that's the first. Are we there yet is the second. Basically, do it again and again, it will get easier. Learn to make a habit of frequently aligning your channels, which means sitting up straight and relaxing your point focus. Yes.
How does Dzogchen relate to the jhanas? My understanding is that the Buddha became enlightened while practicing jhanas, or while practicing.
Define jhana.
Well,
Sanskrit term.
going through the process of knowing your mind, feeling the joy, letting go, and then going on to the formless jhanas.
That's a method. I'm not sure I understand your question.
Well, I guess in perspective, I guess what came first was it, and it's more a historical question, I guess, that I wanted to see what the relationship between jhana's practice and Dzogchen practice.
As jhana's practice is a form of keirim. One accomplishes this and then that. That's keirim. Zogrim is not keirim. Zogrim is different. Now, yes, I'm breaking Zogrim down into Dzogchen Light and real Dzogchen. We will be talking about real Dzogchen by tomorrow. But it will be a while before, or maybe not, I don't know, each of you will go at your own rates, before you have wiped enough habits off to actually understand what real Dzogchen is about without getting your foot stuck in a crack. That's the best way I can put it. So, out of kindness, methods have been given, even though real Dzogchen is beyond method. And path and fruition are not separate. Nonetheless, these methods in this text do go from a point of utter confusion to a point where confusion and wisdom are not separate. But rarely can one just dump someone in there on their head and have them swim. Other questions?
The story of the Chitra that got enlightened at the moment of the teaching, if enlightenment doesn't happen to a single entity, what happened?
Oh, that individual was freed from their individual hang-ups. Nonetheless, they would still live as a bodhisattva in the awareness of the fourth time, where all beings are all Buddhas. Nonetheless, walking around in the time-space continuum. either or doesn't really pertain at those levels. Embrace and. Other questions in the back over here?
So, I'm curious how to reconcile our innate unfuckableness, right, human nature, and our conduct, our choices in how we treat and engage with others.
Well, that's our confusion that is obscuring the natural bodhisattva. So you do purification practices to remove the confusion, the marigpa. It's because we don't see clearly. When we harm another, it's out of desire or fear, to protect ourselves, or because we want to eat them. So in that way, as you continue to practice and remove the smudge, one's interactions with the universe shift. So you just got to practice. If you can do this practice of the 3 words, it's probably the fastest. But not everyone is comfortable doing this, so they should pick one they're comfortable with. It's really important that you do a practice you like. If you don't like it, you won't do it well. You know when you're doing a chore you don't like cleaning up the kitchen and you didn't want to, that the kitchen doesn't get all that clean? It's like that. So you got to pick the practices you like. Other questions? Okay, they're in the back.
So, more of a technical question maybe, but during my practice yesterday and today, when things get all blurry, then could I shift my gaze to something else? I'm trying to relax my eye muscles.
If they get all blurry, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Just keep relaxing.
Okay. Thank you.
I think we might be done. My phone's out of battery. Oops. So I'm going to dedicate the merits real quick. Ge wandi nyur duda chi ji sala go pashu. Okay, and we're supposed to be back here at 2. Would it work for everyone here to make it a little later? Is there anyone that coming back at 2:30 would be a problem for?
If we started at 2:30, does that mean that we're finishing at 4:30 instead of
Yes.
4 o'clock?
Would that be a problem for you?
Yes.
Okay, we'll keep it at the regular time.
Sorry.
Okay. Run away, go get some lunch. Yes.